Hey everybody, welcome back to Eric's Arborist and Work Equipment Reviews. Today I am going over the Toro STX-26. It's the IntelliSuite. This is one of their newer models. It is a pivot head hydraulic system that runs on a gas motor. There's a bunch of specs you can find out online, and there's different options and different things like that if you want to know more about it. The interesting thing about this over like the Vermeer to me is that the head angle pivots a bit steeper to the side, which is actually really convenient in a lot of ways. That is a challenge to some degree too, because when you have it set at a depth because of the arc side to side, it's actually deeper on the sides and in the center than it is at the other angle, so you can bind it down and bog it out. It has a good clutching system, so when that happens, the machine stops the head and then it gets it going again. For it to be such a small machine, and this is the smaller of the two track run machines that Toro is making, it's really powerful. You can see behind me, I've had to chase roots and take out 3 stumps that were in aspen, and it's for its size, it's surprisingly powerful. I have done elm, I have done cottonwood, I have done aspen, and you know, the watery stumps, the trees that hold a lot of water when they're green, this thing still just cuts right through them. It has dual carbide teeth offset on the head, and that means that it's actually cutting in a sideward motion, not an up and down motion. So you have to actually pivot it to make it work the way that you want it to, and it actually works really well for what it is. I'm super stoked on the machine. The only thing is, there are a few negatives to it. It's such a short wheelbase, which makes it great for getting in and out of places. The challenge with that is that up hills, steep hills, it wants to roll back on you. It's also narrow enough to get through any standard size person gate. So on fences and stuff, the gates that you go through, it can get through those with no problem. But that also means that it's fairly narrow. And because it's narrow, that means that it can tip over sideways on you. It has no suspension on it, which makes it rigid and makes it, you know, grab real well. But that being said, it also bucks if you get too deep into the teeth. So it will buck, and because you're standing right behind it, if you're not careful, it will buck back on you. Or if you're grinding stumps like on a hill, like I do a lot of times out here in Colorado, as it bucks, it's already on a hill, so it has a tendency to buck back, and it does take some of your strength to hold it in place. The hydraulic system on this one is a bit disappointing in 2 ways. One, in reverse, in any kind of sand or even these piles of dirt, the track binds real easy. I know they did that because they don't want people to run over themselves in reverse, so they made it a slower, less powerful gear. But the problem is that sometimes I need it to be more powerful. In that case, hoping you have enough space, you can swing it around. The head does come up almost 90 degrees to the body, so it makes it a tighter, compact area, and you can spin around a little bit. But that is frustrating that it does bog down in reverse. The other thing is that I found the hydraulic system isn't strong enough to hold the tracks in place and run the head on a steep hill. So I have to keep my hand slightly on the forward control and be running the grinding head to keep it in place on a steep hill. But overall, for the size it is, great for small yards and stuff like that, super great. I can get really tied up to chain link fences and things because of the way the head moves and stuff. The head being offset to the left side also helps because you can really sneak in and run it from the left over. And the head comes almost 90 degree pivoted to the side, and it goes about 15 degrees out to the left past parallel. So you have a good range on it. It really is a good machine, but is it perfect? No. The track's not being strong enough in reverse, and then the hydraulic system not holding it in place on a hill is definitely a negative. The tendency to topple over on the side on steep hills when you're going up them if you have to, or the bucking when you run over a hill. I mean, it like kicks way back on you because the tracks are real short and there's no suspension. And then of course it wanting to roll over on you when it bucks on a hill or when you're trying to climb a steep hill. All negatives to this machine. The positives are the head has really good movement range. It has a really strong and consistent motor in it. It has replaceable carbide teeth on it. It has a fairly decent guard around the bottom that does not impede, so you can reach good access area with the front of the head and the back without it impeding your motion, but it does in fact protect you from flying things to the most part. I have had some items fly by my head and I have been hit by rock and root, but you're not going to escape that. And then the other positive is that it's just easy to use. It's very intuitive from the get-go, in my opinion. So, and it's compact. It gets into backyards and stuff really easy. So overall, I would totally give it an 8 out of 10, in my opinion. There could be some things that could be bettered by Toro. The question of this is going to be, how long will it last in the future? I've been using it for around 3 months. It is a rental company's machine. I'm like one of 3 people or 4 people who rent this thing. So I've put a lot of the hours that are on it, and I've come to know it pretty well. Just to give you an idea of how capable it is, I did 24 elm stumps in 2 days of like 8-hour runs or 6-hour runs per day with it. And one of the stumps was 15 feet or 13 feet in diameter. And then another time within one weekend of like 6 hours, I did two 10-foot diameter stumps, root crown and everything, and like 6 other small stumps. And I've done apple trees with them, apple stumps. I've done cottonwoods, elm, aspen, and willow. So that gives you an idea of what this thing can do. Hope this was informative. Hope it's beneficial for you guys. Please don't forget to like,